One of the areas that you focus on is resume development. Entrepreneurs tend to leave that part in the past, rarely, if ever, updating it. What are your thoughts on this and what advice would you give?
Oh, okay, first off, everybody, everybody, entrepreneurs currently working, everybody needs to have an updated resume. And for entrepreneurs, I can think of a million reasons. I'll just name a few. First off, for proposals. If you want to, if you're pitching yourself to a corporation to do any kind of work, a lot of times they'll want to see a resume. And wouldn't it be nice to have one at the ready? If you just build it in every year that you're updating, that you're going to update your resume, you always have it ready. It could be for funding needs, all kinds of reasons. Maybe a client, not even a corporate person, a client wants to see your resume. So that's one reason. Next, try as we might to remember, we think, oh, I'll always remember this amazing thing that I've done in this part of my work. You're not going to remember. So if you, on at least an annual basis, write a resume, get it set, you've memorialized your highlights for that year, and then you won't forget it. But it really is impossible to try to recreate. When I work with people to work on their resumes, if they have not written a resume in a really long time, what I do is I send them a list of questions that I want them to be thinking about. I want to prime their subconscious. And it's always interesting how much, I'll have 15 pages of notes because they'll start through talking about it. All of a sudden, they'll start to remember, this detail or that detail that had completely evaded them. So, yeah, so those are just a few reasons why.
Today, more than ever before, people have to put themselves out there, such as on LinkedIn. There are many people who say to themselves, I want my privacy and I don't want to post. So, what is the correct strategy for job seekers, professionals, and entrepreneurs alike?
This is a question for our time, isn't it? Balancing marketing, self-marketing, and privacy. Um, so I think it boils down to strategy and coming up with something that you feel really comfortable with, and then working the plan. Generally speaking, LinkedIn for the US in particular, I work with clients from outside the US too, but in the US especially, LinkedIn is really, really important. And not just having a profile. So having a profile and only having 10 connections can be just as bad as not being on it at all. Like having a really good profile and having an engagement strategy and working that strategy. Depending on your field, some other platforms matter too. If you're in marketing, there's probably a really good case for being on Instagram or Twitter, depending on your vertical and all kinds of things.
For these entrepreneurs that may be looking to get back into corporate America, or for anybody that's taken a long pause, what is the best avenue for them to find opportunity? Is it the job application process, or is it through alternate forms of networking?
Good question. No easy answer, but I will say this. Relying completely on job boards often can make for an extended and prolonged search. Networking is, is a really powerful tool. Working with a good recruiter or two is also really helpful. The thing with networking is somewhere along the line, networking became synonymous with asking everybody if they have a job for you. And I don't know about you, that feels really yucky to me, either as the asker or the receiver of the question. And so I would say networking, I'm happy to report networking has transformed. It's come a long way. That is not networking in the 21st century. It is about keeping relationships current, checking in, looking for ways to be of service whenever you can, and then keeping people updated on what's happening with you. And so if you're continuing to keep connected and sharing updates and helping people when they ask, when you're at a point of change or transition and you let your network know what's happening, you could be very nicely surprised at how many people say, hey, let's hop on a call. What are you looking for? Let me see if I can think of anybody who you should talk to, that kind of thing.
You own a consulting practice. What are some of the most common challenges you face when you're running your business?
You've heard me say this, Rashab. For me, um, it's balancing the time between working on my business and working in my business. And when I say working in my business, it's doing the client work, the writing, all of the things that call me to do this stuff that I get to do. Working on my business, which is budgeting, marketing strategy, scheduling, streamlining processes, all of the entrepreneurial things. That's a challenge for me. And it's why I think programs like yours, oh my gosh, a game changer. Because you can work and have a nice side business, or you can have a successful, fabulous practice using the strategies that you know and teach. And so I'm working. I'm trying to catch up. So that's one of the challenges for me in general. Yeah, with the working on and working in at the same time. And I'm so close to hiring a VA. We've talked about that too, and you've given good suggestions, because I think when you're a solopreneur, you have to get to the point where you realize I don't have to do it all myself. In fact, I shouldn't do it all myself. Um, Invest in the business so that you can move it to the next level.
What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs?
So one thing I would say is don't make the leap. Don't just say I'm opening my own business. That's it. I mean, I think I was at a conference once, and the facilitator, the trainer, said something that I always held on to, because a lot of times my clients, some of them might be thinking about transitioning into their own business. And this woman said something like, let your job be your backer. Let your employer, that's your business backer. So they're paying you to do your day job, and that's giving you the money to do your research, invest, hire consultants, etc. Start to build, take on clients slowly. So that's one thing. Don't make the jump. Make calculated decisions, research, make sure there's a market for what it is you want to do. If you want to open a consultancy repairing phone booths, you might want to rethink that right now. So make sure people want what you're offering. And my overarching comment is, to invest in something like what you offer, Rashab, with Think Business. There's a lot that goes into starting your own business, and getting things set up correctly in the beginning will pay dividends, and save you time and angst and confusion and missteps down the road.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you actually said, don't just take the leap, but you said after that, make a calculated decision. And I think that's where some of this gets lost in translation, because you'll hear experienced entrepreneurs, some who have done well for themselves, give advice, which I sometimes may feel that it can border dangerous, by just saying, go take the leap. And of course, that's part of entrepreneurship. You have to take a leap, but you should not just take a leap without measuring the distance from this edge of the cliff to the other edge of the cliff.
Yeah.
And so that's where the calculated decision comes. Carol, thank you so much for being here and imparting your advice and wisdom for a lot of people who need to hear this, especially in a time that we are in right now. I really want to thank you for being a guest on the Business 360 podcast.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for inviting me.